Good morning. In today's Pocket Sevens, we've got a full ring game going. We had under the gun raise, and then we have a caller. I tag this as a tight aggressive player. He's playing 19-3. I'm going to assume that he has a pretty decent raise. His raise first in stat from early positions, 13%. And he is under the gun at a full table, so I think he's going to be somewhat tight. At 13%, we're looking at something like that. We can probably get rid of the offsuit since you don't normally see that, or I don't normally see that. Maybe we can add maybe those. That's a 12.7. That's probably about right for that player. Villain 5 just calls. Haven't really tagged him. He's playing 2011. He's kind of slightly on the looser side. He's definitely not an overly tight player. He's not as aggressive as his looseness should suggest. So, but he's not as tight as a lot of our other looser passive players. So with this player in middle position, he plays 17% of hands. He is going to call a 2-bet. Go call 2-bet 8% of the time. I think this is probably a speculative hand here. We can say pocket pairs. I don't think he's going to have a lot of premium hands. I'd venture ace queen suited might be in his raising range. We could include it in his calling range if we wanted to. Something speculative. That's 9.65, and he could have raised some of these as well. But we're gonna say that's what we're gonna play, and now it's on us. We're in the cutoff. So against an early position raiser, we should be playing something like this. Against this player who's probably under the gun and tight, I think we can. We could probably fold some hands that we would typically just call. His fold 3-bet stats 14%, 1 out of 7. So he really hasn't faced a huge number of raises. And when he has, he hasn't really folded. So I think if we look at this range and say, okay, that's what, is he really going to be raising that? What was his raise first in stat was 13. Would he call with those? Yeah, maybe how he plays is that he calls 3-bets too much, or he's just so tight that he rarely folds. So I went by this. I think we could have squeezed, but I think if we squeeze, it's going to be hard. I think we're just building up a pot because I don't have evidence that he's really folding a whole lot to a 3-bet, and if he calls, then this guy's probably just going to call as well. He's got a speculative hand to begin with, so I think we're just going to go with my calling range, and I did do that. And then we had the small blind came along with us. Small blinds out of 350 hands, he's playing 19-2, definitely very passive. Pre-flop from the small blind, 1 out of 19. So I think we're going to have him as a again just kind of a weaker speculative type of hand. Let's get our big pocket pairs out and continue. I think we'll keep all pocket pairs. I think a player like this, he's playing 19. I think we're going to include all of the suited aces, and I think something like that. Suited connectors, maybe not. We'll just include them. It says 13.4%. And then we go to a flop. So here's my range. Got 6.18. Definitely it is speculative type of hand. And we get a king of diamonds, 6 of clubs, 5 of clubs. King of diamonds, 6 of clubs, 5 of clubs. And just overall, we're dealing with 25.4. All right, so how does this fare? He definitely has nut potential. He could have pocket kings. I don't think any of us could have pocket kings. I think all of us could have the flush draw. I think it's more likely that one of these, myself included, could have the straight draw. With the 7-8, it's more likely that one of us might have a two pair king six. I think it's unlikely that villain two has two pair at this point. I think if it, in our position, I think it benefits us to try to reduce the number of opponents in the hand. So we should probably look to raise it. What kind of hands are we looking to raise it? Well, with the king on the board, I think any c-bet by villain 2 probably represents a king. So villain 2 actually checked. So I'm going to discount, sets over pair, top pair, because I really do think against three opponents, players should be betting this. We're going to give him pocket pair below the top cards, flush draws. Would a flush draw bet? I kind of assume a flush draw would bet here. Open-ended straight draw would bet. I think a gut shot could check. So let's do this. Flush draws out. Open-ended straight draws out. I think a gut shot could bet here. And I think our combo draws are going to be betting. So he's checking that range, which isn't that great. Villain 5 now bets, and he bets half pot. That's a little bit surprising. His stats, Donk is 22%. He is now betting after a missed c-bet. So he's floating 25%, 1 out of 4 times he's bet in this case. Villain here, I think, is incentivized to bet a set, to bet top pair. I'm not sure if he's incentivized to bet pocket pair less than the top card. Maybe, 7s, 8s, 9s, 10s. If he's the type of player who recognizes that, I'm not going to look at those. If he recognizes that his check suggests that he does not have a king, I do think he can bet his flush draws and open-ended straight draws. I think the gut shot's a little less likely, and I think we're going to leave all of those. So that's his range, and now it's on us. What do we do? I think with that bet, I think we're going to be calling our set. I think our top pair is going to be calling. Is there a raise? I do think we're going to be 3-betting. Here are sets. And maybe not all of our flush draws. Our flush draws, sets and flush draws. And that's about half and half, a few more. I think this is what we're going to be raising. I think we call our top pair. I think we're okay because we're only afraid of the ace. And our top pair, if we raise, we know, I don't think flush draws are going to fold, so we're building up a big pot, making a turn bet, even bigger, and we still have one opponent left, left to act. So I think we could just call with top pair. I think we can call with a pocket pair below the top card with the plan to take it away if we get heads up. We do have, a backdoor straight draw as well. But I don't think we should always call here. I think I'm leaning more towards calling with 7s and 8s and possibly folding 9s and maybe 10s and jacks. I think that's going to be a speculative call. I think there's nothing wrong with just folding pocket pair below the top card here. And 2 card backdoor flush draw again. I just don't. I think the reason. I think we're doing that. We're calling top pair, and then we'll probably call backdoor flush draws, ace queen, ace jack. Let's change those colors. Yeah, 9, 10. I think that's kind of what we're looking at as our calling range here. Not a whole lot. Again, overall, it's only 28%. We're going to be folding a lot on this board. Um, I did fold, so I'm not sure why. Oh, yeah. Okay, well, we'll continue. So I did fold. Let's add a note. I'm glad I did fold. As I said, I just it's a hand. Why get involved with this? We've got three other opponents or two other opponents behind us to act. If one of them raises, we're just gonna have to fold. Yeah, just be ready to fold. So, all right. So we folded. That was our pre-flop range. We folded on the flop. So that is good. So that was his check. That was his bet. Ooh, now he raised it, and he raised it all in. So, what is he gonna do here? Let's do here. Let's get some of these in here. I think he folds. I think villain 2 folds. So we're gonna fold that. So let's do this. This is his betting range. We'll say MP betting range is that. And that represents 49.2% of his pre-flop range. And 58 combos. And then he shoves all in. And the question is, what is he going to shove all in with? I think he's going to shove all in with sets and 2 pairs. And I don't think it makes sense to do it with the top pair. I think he's going to possibly do it with the flush draw. I think it's real speculative to do it with the open-ended straight draw. So I think that's going to be his shoving range. This is buttons. I've got 16.5%. 5% or 27 combos. All right, so you can see that that shoving range is definitely ahead. Now, what hand should this player call? I think he gives up this. I think you could be justified in folding top pair. And I think it comes down to the call. So right now, he needs 30% equity. Does he have 30% equity? I think he does, even with his, when you include his draws. So I think flush draw, open and straight draw with the pair, all of those. I think the only thing he was going to do was fold those pocket pairs below the top cards, and he has the odds. So, does he call? He does. He calls. He calls all in, and you can see that the size was 34.9, and I think that probably played into something like call too, is recognizing that he didn't have a big stack and he was in, and that he would probably go all in. And we've got a flush draw and an open and straight draw on the board. So, oh well, let's do this. And let's see here. So his calling range versus flop range, 27%, which is 28 combos. So we went from 58 to 28 combos, which means he is looking at folding about 50% at the time. So his equity is going to be, at this point, MP is 46%. And button is what I'm estimating, 54%. All right. So he calls. See turn and river. He had ace king, which is really he called with an ace king. I don't have an ace king in his range because I didn't even. I figured he would have 3-bet pre-flop. So we're gonna definitely make a note of this. Just pre-flop call. Called UTG's RFI from MP with ace king off. And then, yeah. Guess because he called because he had the king of clubs. I don't know. I didn't have it in there, and I don't think I would have even had it in there. I wouldn't have had it in there as his bet. Oh no, he does. He's got the king. Sorry. So if he did it with ace king off, maybe he raises with the ace king. So I had the top pair. If the ace king was in his pre-flop raising range or pre-flop calling range, then it's in this range as well. So I'm gonna go with that. I think that's okay. And then this villain showed kings. I didn't have king, but it was definitely in his sets. So again, he had the opportunity to raise this, and he's definitely super passive. And that's where I said it's 3 bets 2%. That is, I mean, 2% raising range, or 2.6% is queens plus ace king. I would have assumed he would have raised. So let's add this player. Call 2-bet from 3 opponents with king. Kind of get that in there. So surprising. We didn't have them in their starting range. So I think this hand we take notes. This is kind of leaning more towards the passive side of things. So maybe add here. More on the passive side. This is definitely passive. So this is loose passive. I think we're going to color this guy up. So I got loose passive as a green off of Sky Matsuhashi's. Check out Smart Poker Study. Definitely worth it. All right, there's a hand. I wasn't in the hand. Maybe I'll work through a second hand, and get that posted to do 2 hands today. But for now, we will kind of work through it. Still, get hand reading exercises in. If you like this, look tomorrow for another.